Hello, everybody.
All right, this is Pastor Kevin Earley, my longtime friend, and we're just getting through the introduction. And I was just talking about some of the things that where the book rejects certain notions of what pastors and congregations and members should be doing. So just tell us what got you to start the book, and I'm gonna just kind of let you talk about it for a minute.
Okay. It's been a little while now, but originally this book was tied to my doctoral work at the university, and I looked around at an issue that our congregation was facing, and it was a small group of people worn out because they were kind of doing everything in the church, and so that kind of put me on the avenue of trying to figure out what that issue was, why was it the case that it's like 20% of the people doing 100% of the work, while you have other people that kind of sit back and do nothing. And then I discovered that a major contributing factor to that is that folks, somewhere along the line at Region Metropolitan and really the church abroad, folks have bought into the notion that only the pastor, reverend, the bishop, apostle, so on and so forth are called to do ministry. And that led me to discover that in reality, everybody that's saved is called to some form of ministry, some form of service, because the Holy Spirit gives us all some way to function within the body of Christ. And so with that, I began exploring scriptures and started with the Old Testament passage and looking at the New Testament passage as well, and discovered that ministry is even the inheritance of a child of God, to partner with God. Because God doesn't need us, but He gives us the blessing and benefit of being able to partner with Him in doing His tremendous work in the world. And so that's kind of the nutshell version. And I'll be careful because this is in my heart, so I can hop on and on and on. Yeah. As you see, 12 chapters. Each chapter began. This actually even began as a lecture series, and so I wrote the chapter and used each chapter over a week. And so, in speaking, I kind of elaborated after each chapter. But anyway, I'll see what other questions you have.
Okay. Well, we're in a similar situation here at Shadyville too. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, last year we read the book called Simple Church.
Okay.
And we eliminated some of our calendar services and things.
So what was that kind of again?
It was called Simple Church.
Simple Church, okay.
Mm-hmm. And we literally eliminated some things.
Okay.
We eliminated one of our Wednesday night services for the youth and young adults.
Mm-hmm.
They have fourth Wednesday, the adults sit home. We didn't do Men's Day and Women's Day. Mm-hmm. And kind of give people a break. And so this year we're kind of getting back into the Men's and Women's Day, but we're still going to have special nights. Also, we have third Wednesday is Marriage Matters Ministry. Mm-hmm. So basically, that book kind of tells us that we don't have to do everything just because it's on the calendar. We're trying to give some of the members who work hard, the hardest, a little bit of break during the month. And I think it was helpful. Y'all think it was helpful? Yes. But my goal this year, we have our vision. I know I talked to you about our vision. The vision is to fill the house. And part of that is we want to love one another and work well with one another in unity. And that's where this book kind of comes in, where we're all working together.
Okay.
And,
I'm listening. I'm getting another book here.
Okay. So I want that's part of the reason why God really laid on my heart beginning late last year to go over this book with our congregation. Because to understand that all of us need to be a part of the ministry.
Exactly.
No matter what our
and
no matter what our
your goal
gift
is to fill up the church. And that's going to take everybody. You know, the idea that the church will only fill up, or that responsibility is solely at the feet of the senior pastor is a false notion. Sheep breed sheep, and shepherds breed shepherds. You know,
Amen.
Ultimately, it's not Pastor Darius's job to fill the church. You guys have to breed other sheep. You know, his job is to equip you and equip other ministers to function as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Any questions or comments about that? Okay. We'll get into chapter 1. It's the objective: discover that God calls all Christians to serve as priests and ministers in the church. Mm-hmm. And to cherish our ability to serve in our local congregation, and then commit ourselves to serving in our congregation's ministries. So, what was the thing that prompted you to use those objectives in chapter 1? Priesthood of all believers.
And one more time,
what kind of pushed you in that direction as you started writing this book, the priesthood of all believers?
Yeah, with all of the objectives, I thought to have each objective is tied to knowing something, feeling something, and then doing something. Okay. You know, and so the very first thing that I set out to do is to, from a biblical perspective, mark out the idea of the priesthood of believers. The idea that we are all priests, biblically, we're all priests. It's not just the reverend, but particularly in the New Testament, where, through salvation, we all become priests in various forms. And so that was really the first step that I wanted to put out there. And have people understand just that notion. There's an example, an illustration. I was at a board meeting at Anderson University and speaking with a professor who was having an issue with the students. And the students had an attitude of like, wait a minute, I pay your salary. I'm a college student, I pay your salary, you're supposed to take care of me.
Wow.
And the professor pushed back on him, and he said, well, I have a different understanding, because right now you feel that you're the consumer and I'm the one who is supposed to serve you. And he said, well, actually, I think that your future employer is actually the customer, and you're actually the product. And that's like a different mindset. And when I heard that, it just went with me. I mean, it really resonated with me, because the truth of the matter is, there are people in our pews, Pastor Darius, who believe that that they are the consumer, and that the pastors that they come to church, and our task is to service them. And our task is to take care of them. When the reality of it is the people in the pews, you're the product. There's only one purchaser, and that purchaser is Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir.
And so our task as pastors is to get the product ready for the ultimate consumer.
Wow.
You know, and so when we realize that we're products and we're not the ones trying to consume, then we begin to say, okay, if our products have to be ready, what do they have to be doing? And one of the things that our products need to be doing in preparation for the one who has bought us and paid for us with his blood is to be ministering, is to be making disciples, is to be active in the community and in the world.
Wow. Great. So I do have a microphone now, so if anybody have any questions or comments to anything Kevin said.
Pastor, I have a question. Why is it that we as church members have had that mentality for many, many years? I know that you say that we are the product and the pastor is supposed to prepare us. But in the past, I don't think that I've felt as though maybe that was happening. In many years before I came here, I didn't feel that. I felt like Pastor, he's our leader and we're supposed to follow, and I know that we all have a gift of some kind, but I think we struggle with how to use our gifts or even what our gifts are to be able to contribute to the church.
Yeah, one of the quotes that I use in matter of fact in that first chapter, page 1, talking about Carter G. Woodson, African American History Month. Hopefully you've heard of that, Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah, that made me feel good about choosing February.
Yeah. I think there's been a level of miseducation in the church. You know, somewhere down the line, because I remember teaching this material over someone, and someone was like, "Man, this is some new stuff." And you know, the reason I started chapter 1 with the priesthood of believers, going back to the Old Testament, is this isn't a new thing. God has never put all of his gifts, all of his resources into one person.
Wow, that's true.
So Moses there was Aaron, there was Miriam, there are other people involved, Isaiah, Jeremiah. So each one, they were a group, always a cluster of people, and you know, I think it was easy for that miseducation to take place and to continue, because you know, people can be applauded. You know, but Brother Darius and now his wife and now his spouse can do all the work in the church and do a tremendous job. And some of y'all will sit back and be like, "Oh my goodness, y'all doing a good job." And then y'all begin to feel and it's like, "Ooh, they doing good," you know. And it can actually promote an unhealthy situation. But usually like, "Oh, good job," and or you know, you got those 5, those faithful 5. Everybody got faithful 5. You know, and if you got 10 people in the church, it'll be the faithful 2. And we'll just applaud them, we'll give them certificates and stuff, and that'll have them keep going. And when reality of it is all of us should be involved in doing something. Everybody's not going to preach, everybody's not going to teach, everybody's not going to do the same thing. Some people will do things inside the house, some people will do things outside the walls of the church. But again, like I said, I can't say more than enough. Like this is a new concept. The reason that people don't do it is because they haven't been taught. In some cases, they haven't been forced to do it and required to do it. You know, and we can easily again get into the mindset that we're the customer, and so hey, we pay the pastor to take care of us. We pay the pastor to come visit us at the hospital. You know, we pay the pastor to come give us the word. You know, when yes, those are jobs and tasks of a pastor. However, the biblical job description of a pastor is to get the people of God active and involved in ministry. Check out. I believe it's in Ephesians. You know. And it does take some security, you know, from us as pastors to say, hey, we want everybody involved, you know, because listen, if all y'all get involved in ministry, you know, the church, I mean, it should see some growth, it should see some help, and like it's kind of like we can never exhaustively preach through all the Bible. As pastors, we'll always have something to do. So if all y'all get involved in some kind of ministry inside and outside the house, Brother Darius can still find a whole bunch of other stuff to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the biggest things that's on my mind now is being an effective church. Because once the house is full, I want to be able to do a lot of effective work in ministry. So talk about the negative impact of one person or two, that two in the five. If those two are the only ones working, will the church ever reach its potential?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that the way that God designed the church is that is He didn't put all of the gifts in any one person. And so if you have 10 people and only 2 are active, that means the church is, I'm working with practice with my kids right now. That means 8/10 of the church, the benefit and blessing that the Holy Spirit has diagnosed and blessed the church with, 8/10 of the church is not getting what it should get. You know, that I mean, anybody want to check? Like, listen, I don't know if anybody say, listen, I want to use my whole check.
Me too.
You know,
Yeah.
if I get $1,000, I want to use all of it. What sense would it make? Like, only use 200, the other 800 I just throw away and just set somewhere. But not saving, just setting, no, for us to use, so. But let me back up one second too, and this may kind of answer to one of the things that I had to begin not to do at Metropolitan as I began teaching this is I'll tell you, I have heard someone who was visiting in the hospital, and I'll go there and meet them. And they'll say, "Man, I'm glad you finally came, Pastor. Ain't nobody from the church came to see me." Wow. And I'm like, "Okay, I'm there." And then as we talked, I found out that Sister Sarah saw, brother Joe had, brother Rudy had been there. All these people from the church were there, but they were saying, "Ain't nobody from the church came to see you." Yeah. And what they were ultimately what they were saying is, the pastor, none of the quote unquote ministers came, reverends came to see. But I suggest that when the church is functioning and operating, since we're all ministers, if there's somebody who sits in the back pew, if they go visit the person in the hospital, then I've done my job.
Exactly. And I want to acknowledge the Wilsons, because they do a really good job visiting the sick here at Shadyville, and I really appreciate that. Particularly in the last few years here, as I've been on the credentials committee and the pastors committee and all these committees, and working 40 hours a week, I just can't get to everybody.
And hold on, Darius too, Pastor Darius. I'm sorry, we know each other as Darius and Kevin, so that's fine. So sometimes I'll make sure that I intentionally don't go to see someone after someone from the church has been there, so it doesn't seem like it's not official unless I show up. Wow. The other thing where I kind of stop you is, saints, if you get involved in ministry because you're trying to help your pastor, or because your pastor's working 40 hours a week, or like I'm gonna get involved in ministry because he just got married and they need time alone. It's only gonna work for so long, because what happens when your pastor makes a decision that you don't like, or he preaches a message that kind of doesn't tickle your funny bone. We have to minister because God has called us, and equipped us to serve. You're not doing, and I'll say, you are not doing your pastor a favor by getting involved in ministry. When you get involved in ministry, you are answering the call of God Himself. The Holy Spirit Himself has put a gift in you. And so that's who you're answering to, a much higher power, because listen, you can catch an attitude with the Lord, but your arms are too short to wrestle with it.
I have a question. When we're talking about the example of 2 out of 10 members are active in ministry, what's going on with the other 8? Are they not mature in the faith? Or if, y'all know what I'm trying to say? Well, I'm trying to say without saying it, but could it be that they're not ready?
just off the top of my head, some may not know how to. Some may not have the information and may not understand that it's not just the pastor and ministers and doctors and whatnot who to be involved. Some people may be looking, may only think that it's the spiritual stuff that counts. You know what I mean? But if you are out, if you have there's some things that are a spiritual gift, and there's some things that are kind of universal to everybody. But like if you have a gift of prayer or the gift of intercession, you can go to a courtroom and sit there and pray, you know, asking the judge to be merciful, asking justice to be given, you know, asking that a person isn't treated unfairly because of the color of the skin, working in the kitchen committee, you know, cleaning up the kitchen, you know, something like that may not seem spiritual, but it's all part of what it takes for a congregation to work. While I totally disagree with the theology of the Jehovah's Witnesses, one of the things that their group does well is to properly equip their saints to go out and evangelize and to witness, you know, and so they anticipate certain objections and they teach them how to address those objections.
They do.
You know, so we have to kind of.
I have a question. I know what Faith said about what happens to the other 8 out of the 10. And you have 2 that are faithful and that do a lot of the work. But could it also be where those 8 either don't want to do anything or they have the gift of doing, but just don't do?
I would say the first part I'm trying to recall, but in terms of the last part, they have a gift of doing it, don't do. I believe that every person that is saved has at least one spiritual gift. That's Bible.
Yes, sir.
Now, you may have to figure out what that gift is. You may have to mature into the proper use of that gift or training that gift. It may be a public gift, it may be a behind the scenes gift, but every believer has a gift, you know. And so part of it is discovering the various gifts that's out there. Sometimes people just don't know, you know. And I even believe that the Holy Spirit, because our God is an active and living God, is yet creating gifts as time goes along. You know, the internet did not exist in Bible days. You know.
Wow.
But my wife has been gifted by the Spirit to do kingdom work through social media. You know, setting up churches and advertising things that are going on. She does a tremendous job with our church, with the National Inspiration Youth Convention, and other people are kind of grabbing at her now to get involved. And so some of it is you just know people may not know how they can get involved. You know, one of the things that in the second leadership book that spoke with Pastor Darius about is something with like a job description list. The job description database for a congregation where somebody said, hey, I want to get involved. Like, okay, you know, give them something to say, hey, these are the various ways that you can serve in this church or in this community on behalf.
Well, I think one of the things that came to mind when she said that, the parable of the talents.
Mm-hmm.
The one who had 1, the one who had 2, and the one who had 5. We're experiencing a lot of people who have 1 and they just put it in the ground. Mm-hmm. And so that's the issue I think that you're alluding to. People who put it in the ground. I've been challenged recently by one of my friends in ministry to be more assertive in dealing with church life issues. And And that's not comfortable for me. You know, I'm a pretty laid back guy here. So. But as a pastor, there comes time you have to deal with certain issues and just confronting people and things like that. So I don't know if that's a part of what this book talks about, but how do you challenge people to go to that field and pick up their gift and start using it, unbury it, start using it? What challenges do you have there, and then I'm gonna let you go from this?
Yeah, and that's where I get, and I think in that the part 3 of the book is go, you know, teaching folks what the gifts are, and then getting into, I believe, also how you know the process of discovering the gifts. You know, and there are a variety of ways to discover what a gift is. They have surveys, and also gifts belong to the church, and so when okay, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, and so gifts belong to the church, and so when somebody has a gift, the church will automatically put the name in.
Yeah, you know, when I came here, you know, God told me, son, you're entering into another man's labor, which is that's good. And so, and then another thing he told me is that, son, everything you need is already in there. And so I know from what God told me as a pastor, that I have the help I need to accomplish what I got to accomplish, but the challenge is getting it to be utilized. And so I know I have gifts around us as a pastor. All of us, everybody in this room has some kind of gift. And some of us have more than one. And I know I've learned that, you know, I'm a visionary person. I'm not good at administrative stuff. So there are people behind me who have administrative gifts who can help me with the stuff I don't do well. And so those are the things I'm really working on personally. And we did pass out a spiritual gift survey earlier this year. And so the challenge is to get everybody to fill it out and turn them in. And then as they read them and find out and discover what those gifts are, hopefully they'll discover more and then begin to use them. Yeah, and the survey is not the sole avenue. Exactly. And I think I hit on about 3 or 4 different ways in here as well. You know, the survey may say that somebody's a counselor, but y'all know straight up that y'all would never tell that person your business. Yeah. And likewise, like the gift of counseling, y'all know who the person is that you talk to. You know, and your children, grandchildren will know. Look, I can't go to nobody, and they get in the bind. You know, them often the aunties or the uncles in the church. You know, that's who we go to talk and ask for advice. That's a gift, and you recognize that as a gift. And so that said, that you will discover that there's some gifts that you have been operating in, and you may have just never had a name for it. Exactly. You know. But you've already been actually in that. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm trying to see how I'm going to phrase the question. I guess it's 2 parts. The first part is if you know what your gifts are, because I know what mine are, and then you know that people have gifts, and you see that they're not using them. But how do you keep frustration from setting in? You using your gift that you know because you care about people, but you see this, you want to encourage them to use their gifts. So how do you keep discouragement or frustration from setting in? And then my second question is, like, even on the job, I'm taking this to, I'm trying to look at it both ways. You see your coworkers that have certain gifts and they're not using it. How do you encourage, how do you keep frustration from setting in with them, knowing that they can use their gift in the work world too?
Yeah, I think a lot comes down to teaching and reteaching and constantly communicating. Again, that's kind of where I felt Metropolitan was when I first started this journey and put this show together. And so we've taken them through 2 cycles. I'm really at the point of almost wanting to take them through the same series again.
Yeah.
But in terms of personal frustration, at the end of the day, we have to have first and foremost that this is God's business. You know,
That's true.
that this is God's work. It's His kingdom, and we do the best that we can do. You know, and then the Lord will, and then trust the Lord to do the rest. You know, for that person is frustrated, we have to pray for them. You know, like I say, certainly encourage them. And the other thing too is, again, gifts can be used in multiple capacities. You know, if you have a gift of preaching or teaching, it does not always have to be at Sunday school or at the church. You know, it's prisons, cafeterias, nursing homes, corners, there's all kind of places that, you know, that people can use those same gifts in different settings.
I had a question, and to tag on to what First Lady said. People that have the gifts, I think that inside the church, where do we find that reconnect? Because it's love and encouragement. When you're loved and encouraged, you believe you can do anything. And inside the house, I can speak for myself. I know that when Pastor Greer was here, before he would preach when I was small, he used to stand me up on that stage and I would sing a solo. Solo is not my gift. But he loved me and encouraged me so much that you couldn't tell me that, you know, I couldn't sing. And I did it every time I would come here on Sunday, and he encouraged me. And I think we're missing that. Pastor can do a great job of it, but we're missing that encouragement of one another to say, you know, at least try. You don't know what your gift is until you're faced with that actual task. If you're never faced with the task, you never have the opportunity to see how good you are at something. You know, and if no one's ever encouraging, you know, we encourage ourselves and we're encouraged by the word, but we have to be one another's cheerleaders. We have to reach out to one another, because you may see something in me, you know, that I hadn't noticed, or I may have given you a sign that I'm good at something, and you see it. So we have to find someone, even if you attach on to that one person that may not be vocal in the church. We're here for each other so that we can be great witnesses when we leave outside the doors. So I just think, you know, it's a team effort. You see something great in somebody here, you have to encourage that in them, in their spirit, so that it can grow and they'll have the courage for that gift to grow.
Yeah, I tried to deal with that in chapter 6, a part of chapter 6, and threats to be avoided. So Paul, you know, himself say, hey, if I can, you know, I'm a little tired of paraphrasing, but if I can move mountains and speaking, you know, all kind of tongues, but I don't have love, you know, it's a clanging cymbal. You know, I'm butchering I'm paraphrasing severely, but all of this is centered around loving each other. You know, and you can be, and you guys have probably encountered it. It could be somebody who is anointed and gifted, and they could sing the horns off the bull. But they so nasty or arrogant, they can do nothing.
Yeah.
You know, when their life negates this powerful gift. You know, and so we have to be on. We have to work on solid relationships and being in the body of Christ in the community in order for our gifts to be best positioned to be useful as well. You know, and so it's a strong community, communal aspect of this thing. And again, it's not just about me using my gift. You know, I don't need the church to, you don't need to have Shady stop so you can practice on what necessarily you think your gift is. You know, it's about us and what's best for the team and the gift of home. Okay.
One more thing, Dr. Earley. It's really important to me, at least, and I think that as Christians, we have to do everything in love. And if we go to our fellow family members at the church, and we have to stay out of our feelings. And I think that's part of sometimes of our issues, that we are offended by everything. And if we could turn away from being offended by things when I think we're here to help each other more than anything. And I think that sometimes we do kind of roll back into our feelings, and then we can't hear or we can't see the things that we really need to in order to move forward. So how do we not be offensive, or how do we get people not to be offended when we're trying to help or trying to give opinions or help the situation to be better?
When you guys are trying to help each other, do what? I'm sorry.
Do the work of ministry.
Do the work. Just do the work. And sometimes you know, we've heard the saying, always go to each other in love if there's something that needs to be discussed and when you do that, sometimes people are offended. How do you do that the right way without being offended?
You know, some people are easily offended.
That's true. I think that's one of my issues too, Karen. You know, as a pastor, trying to get people to move forward, and then when you kind of corner them, you know, like, Pastor, you embarrass me. You know? And I'm not trying to embarrass you, but I know that you have a gift, and I want to see you use it. You know, literally, I've seen a person use their gift, and I ask them to use it again, and then they're like, well, no, not me, maybe somebody else. So it's that fine line that we try to walk and still try to be inclusive and getting people involved in ministry.
Yeah, and then another part too, I think I've heard that the congregation went through, I believe, autopsy of a dying church, of a deceased church.
We have to do a simple church.
Say again?
It was called Simple Church.
Oh, okay. I thought you may have went through the autopsy.
No, we didn't do that one.
Yeah. The stakes are utterly high. Mm-hmm. You know, we have, as the body of Christ as a church, we have no time to waste on petty arguments with each other. I mean, there are people dying. You know, you guys in a major, near a major metropolitan area. There are too many clubs, parades, baseball games that y'all can be going and promoting the kingdom. And I did say clubs. Sometimes you gotta allow the devil to bring them together so that you can minister to them.
My Lord.
You know, so yeah. I mean, that's part of it too. You know, now just to encourage somebody like, hey, you know, you can sing really well, or you can do something. And again, if there's something that they're uncomfortable with, oftentimes people do have more than one gift. Yeah. You know, I also believe in. I'm of the mindset, and you'll see this as you go through the book. I don't believe that the Lord gives a gift and takes it away. Wow. I think that they're given for life. Yeah. However, I do believe in seasons. Mm-hmm. You know, there will be seasons where you'll use a particular gift, and there will be seasons where you may not. You may like I may my predecessor, used to preach every Sunday. It's not that he no longer has the gift of preaching because he doesn't preach every Sunday. He's just in a season where he's now using other gifts more regularly than he had before. And so that sometimes, maybe they're maybe they are worn out, or if you're like, this person has a gift of teaching, but if she's teaching all week long with everybody else's kids, she doesn't have it in her to want to teach Sunday school. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. You may find that it may be like somebody who's the main manager at their job, and you may say, hey, we need to make him the head of the trustee board. And reality of it is, they may just want to come and sweep floors. Because all week long, they're in charge. It's like my contribution to the house will just be something more behind the scenes, and so on and so forth. Some of that is, we're not looking to force anyone to do anything, but we do want to encourage people to answer the call that the Lord wants to, and when the Lord places a gift in us, it will have some elements of burden, as things in life, but if it's all burden, then that's an indication that's not a gift that you have. If every time you're called upon to do it, you're like, oh, Lord. That's a good indication. Listen, and Brother Derek, I'm gonna say this to one of your people. Listen, if the brother is miserable teaching Sunday school, it's better to let that guy shut down than to have somebody who doesn't have the gift of teaching and are in the season to teach it to carry on.
Yeah. And I'm learning that. I'm learning that. Okay, I don't want to take up all your evening. I know you really done blessing to us tonight. And
good. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and had enjoyed my time when I was actually there as well. So, so you guys have a good night. And hey, Derek, brother, Pastor Derek, we'll be in touch if you want to do this again towards the end or middle or whenever you guys that no further in the material. So, hey, have a good night, First Lady.